As you can probably see behind me, I've already tilled. However, it proceeded to rain for like 4 days heavily afterwards. And so we're gonna till again, probably in a couple days. I don't know when. We'll just see when it dries out. It's already drying out a little bit because this sandy loamy soil just dries out really fast. It's great. But anyway, if you can see, there's already some grass started. And also, I have not tested my soil. And if you know that soil gets more acidic each year that you grow plants on it. Our soil's already pretty acidic. We're in a sandy loamy soil. We got a lot of coniferous trees around, and that automatically makes it pretty acidic. So with all that in mind, we're probably gonna have to add lime this year. So we're gonna do a soil test and test the pH, and we're gonna see, where exactly we're at. And I also am gonna do a soil composition test to see just what our soil's made up of. So I got a testing kit and we're gonna gather some soil. And then I'm gonna do the rest of the test tonight in the house in the comfort of my own home. And I think it takes like 8 hours to settle. So it's actually gonna be tonight and tomorrow morning when I do the test. But anyway, minor details. So to collect the sample, I have a trowel and a coffee can. It says to take the trowel and dig about 6 inches down and try to do it in like several different places of your garden so you can get kind of an idea of your overall soil composition. And so this is my interpretation of that. So I'm just gonna stick the trowel in. Oh, this is really packed already because of all that rain. Gonna dig down, and like they're saying like 6 inches down, meaning like taking a slice, I believe, like that. Has grass in it, but that's fine. Obviously there's grass in it. So we'll do that. We're gonna plow this again. Probably should have done it before we plowed. We'll go do this from a place where we haven't plowed too, just to get a better understanding of the soil in general. But that's pretty homogenized and pretty accurate, I'd say, for the soil, because it's like this everywhere. My grandpa built this soil up, so I think that's pretty accurate. But we'll go over here. We'll get some soil here too. Right. Nice and soft over here, and I didn't plow. But anyways, take a nice slice of soil. I like that. Anyway, I'm gonna repeat that a few more times, and then we'll go on to the next step a little bit later. So it's been a couple days, and please ignore the mess in the background. I'm in the process of getting some boxes together for burning and some other cleaning things. But anyways, it's been a couple days because life happened, but we're gonna go ahead and continue on with the soil testing. So I already gathered some soil here. I'll show you. And I just put it in this coffee can, So now I'm just kind of chopping it up, and I'm gonna remove, you can see there's like some sticks and some grass. We don't need that. We don't need that in there. That's not gonna help, because basically when we do the pH test, we wanna we're trying to make a water solution. In fact, you can use a coffee filter and kind of like strain out the water if you're having a hard time reading the strip, and then you can get more just like water. So that's one little tip. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick out all these little pieces of grass and sticks and stuff. We're gonna do a soil pH test, and we're also gonna do just like a soil composition test, because allegedly that will also help us understand our soil better and like how we need to amend it to make it a proper pH for growing. So first things first, for the pH test, I'm going to put some soil in here. It says the directions say to take a 1 tablespoon measure and put 8 tablespoons of the dirt in a container, and then 8 tablespoons of water. It also recommends, whoops, I almost spilled that. It also recommends using distilled water because, as you probably know, water that's not distilled has its own pH, and that could alter your soil. I think that would be very true if like you had like city water, because city water, I've noticed, has a pH pretty close to 7, which is neutral. Our water is a little bit acidic, but it's also well water, and it's the same water that's in the ground, and I just don't have any distilled water because the store was sold out right now. So we're just gonna use well water. It's the same stuff that the soil's saturated in, so I don't really think it'll matter all that much. I'm not too worried about it. So I didn't get all the grass out. I thought I did. So if you're doing this, you can pick out the grass while you're doing it. Just try to not have a bunch of junk in there because it'll just make it harder to read your strips. So here's one. Wow, this is a lot. 8. Did it really say 8? I'm gonna double check that. Definitely read your book. 8 level tablespoons. You know, I don't know if I have that much here. So I'm just gonna do equal parts of each, like 1 part to 1 part, because I feel like, you know, the test strip is just like in a little tube like this, and I don't need like a whole bunch of extra soil. Like I wanna do a soil test kit too. So I'm gonna do just like 4. I'm gonna do half of that. And if somebody's watching this and they know more than me and they're like, hey, that's not gonna work, please comment and tell me that it's not and why, because I like to learn, but I just don't feel like getting more dirt. It's already been really hard. There's some roots in here, but that's okay. 3. I think I get why it's supposed to be 8. I think that they're saying like, so it's deep enough that you can dip the test strip in. Does that really matter? Can I just like kind of do this to dip it in? I think it's just so you can have like enough solution, but like, I didn't even open these yet. Let's open it up. Let's take a look. By the way, it recommends like letting this, like you're supposed to stir it and then let it sit for like 8 hours and then stir it for like 30 seconds before testing. So we are gonna do that, but I'm just looking. Yeah, like that's not even. All right, so directions recommend 8 level tablespoons, but I think that if you know what you're doing, I think you can get away with less. And I'd like to, because I want to do a composition test, and in order to do that, I gotta fill this little tube up to here, and I want to make sure I have enough. If I don't, I'll just add, or if I do have enough and I have more than enough, I will add more in. I'm gonna stir that in a minute, but I'm gonna get this ready for the soil composition test. Obviously, shouldn't have grass in there either. I'm not gonna measure this per se, but I am gonna use, oops, you're not even seeing. I'm not gonna measure this per se, but I am gonna use the tablespoon measurer to just like kind of scoop it in there and get all the debris out. So I'm supposed to fill this bad boy up to like here. So that's what we're gonna do. So by the power of garden magic, I did have enough. So now there is 8 tablespoons of soil in here and 8 tablespoons of well water, which is the same water that's in the ground because I didn't have distilled water. I'm gonna stir this up with a like probably this. I'll use this. Okay. Stir this bad boy up. This is for our pH test in this container. Stir this up and get it nice and homogenized. One of my favorite words. I use that a lot. Anyway, so it's like a really soupy brownie mix. Now I want some chocolate. Anyways, pH test. I'm gonna let this sit. It says for like 8 hours, so I don't know. It's like almost noon now, so like 8 o'clock tonight or tomorrow, we'll figure it out. So as for the soil composition test, I filled the soil up to the fill line. I think I'm gonna put a sprinkle more in because it looks a little sparse. Anyway, okay, so it's filled up to the soil fill line, and now it says that we need to add a teaspoon of low sudsing dishwasher detergent or a rinse agent. So 1 teaspoon, I'll add that in just a second. And then we finish filling the jar with water up to this water fill line. And the reason these measurements are like this is because this is going to be able to tell us, you know, what our soil is composed of. Sand's going to be the heaviest, for example, so it's going to sink to the bottom. There should be like 3 different distinct layers, but it said that the like 2 layers can kind of blend together. So we'll see. I have some ideas of what I think our soil might be composed of, but I don't know for sure, which is why I'm doing this test. I think in the directions they showed a picture of like powdered dish soap. I don't have that. I have liquid dish soap, so we're just gonna use that. I don't think it'll matter. I think the whole point is that it's like a rinsing agent and it's not gonna like suds up like a hand washing dish soap would do. Try to get this all in there. You know what? I'm gonna just rinse this by doing this because it's all going in there, right? So we can do that. And I'm done with this water for other projects, so I think we're good. Okay, so now we gotta fill this to the water fill line. I think we like shake it up or stir it. Let's find out. Directions said to make sure the cap is on good. I'm gonna hold it because I don't trust things, and said shake vigorously for 30 seconds. So we're gonna do that. Anyways, then we're supposed to set it down on a level surface after we're done shaking for like 12 to 24 hours. So I'm gonna set both of these down on the table until I have the time to deal with them again. Whenever that may be, I am not sure, but that's when we'll deal with it. This is why you don't want a sudsing soap, because like it would make us. That's why you hold the cap on. Oh my God. All right, we're gonna have to repeat. All right, yeah, and that is what you do not want to do. Okay, so I redid this. I dumped it out and completely redid it because I had no idea how much splashed out, but I'm gonna try to vigorously and carefully shake it because like I was holding this lid on and it still came off. So I'm using 2 hands, and you don't have to use like this little tube. You can probably use like anything you can have like a measurement on and do like, I don't know what the actual measurements are here. Well, I don't know. There's probably tutorials online how to do it. I don't have time to look it up right now, but you can look that up, and I'm sure you could do it just with a regular mason jar, and that would probably be a little safer than this method, because I think what I did is I squeezed the tube and it caused the cap to pop off. So if you have a kit like this, don't do that, because it will come off even if you're holding it on. Maybe like hold it down like this. Anyway, that's pretty vigorously shaken. We're gonna call that good because like after what happened, I don't feel like washing my hair and changing my clothes again. So we're gonna let this sit for a while and we'll be back. All right, so this is the result of the soil composition test. And I'll zoom in here a little bit. You can kind of see where we're at. On the bottom we have sand, in the middle we have silt, and then that tiny like kind of light colored band up here, that's clay. This is my math. I have to write everything out because I have dyscalculia, but basically you can do this in any jar like this. You just can use like a ruler to measure. So I have 1 16 inches of sand, the bottom part here, and I have 1 18/16 silt and 1/16 clay, just a tiny bit. So I just wrote them like this. You know, you can add because 1 is 16/16, so 1 + 8 is 24/16. Anyway, that's how I did that. And then I just added all the numbers together, the 17, the 24, and the 1, got 42. And then I took the 17/16 and divided it by 42, the 42/16, which is the total. And then you multiply that number by 100 to get the percent. So we are 40.5% sand, and I just rounded it. We are 57.1% silt and 2.4% clay. So that is sandy loam. All right, so now we're gonna do the soil pH. I have these little strips. So here's our solution with just the 8 parts, 8 tablespoons of soil and 8 tablespoons of water. Just gonna stir it up one more time. I've let it set for well over 12 hours. Okay, let that set for like 30 seconds. Get a strip out and get that ready. So what we're gonna do, oops, just one please. Okay, so this is what the strip looks like. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dip it around in there, and I think, let me see. I think we have to wait, okay. hold the strip in the solution for 3 seconds. Okay, so we're gonna dip this and hold it in there for 3 seconds, and then we have to shake off the extra dirt particles that are gonna be on there, and you can strain it out if you want and use a coffee filter. That's another option. I just don't have any, so I'm not gonna. But then we have to wait a minute before we read this, and in order to read it, you match it up. I'm not sure which way. That would be good to know. Apparently this way. Yeah. So this is how, and like every test kit's probably going to be different, so you should read the directions on yours. All right. So we're going to dip it in, pull it out, shake off the excess vigorously. Last time I shook something vigorously, I got it all over myself, so I'm going to be kind of careful. I think I'll be able to see it through the dirt particles. I'm not too picky. Okay, I like to just set it on top like that. And we're gonna wait a minute. So the directions did say that the colors might not match perfectly, but as far as I can tell, that's pretty close. So we're somewhere in the 6 to 6.5 range, which is within the optimal range of 6 to 7. But like, I think it's towards the lower end, which I figured it would because our soil's already pretty acidic and I've been planting in it for a while, but like this top one would have to, I think I will add a little bit of lime, but not anything too exciting, because if you add too much lime, it's harder to make your soil more acidic. It's easier to make it more alkaline, if that makes sense. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you think that matches up. It's on the bottom here, it would get more orange. It gets more red this way, more green this way. Yeah, I think it's somewhere in here. So I don't know if you could see that. I was contemplating. Yeah, somewhere in here. Anyways, I think I might add a little bit of lime to it and we'll see what happens. I'll retest again after that. All right, I just read that since it's in that range, it is on the lower side of acidic, but it's still like within range, and you shouldn't add lime unless it's lower than that. So if it starts going down to like 5.5 or 5.0, then that's when you want to add lime. So we should be good this year.